organizations, both veterans, newbies to Marketo alike, they're looking to take advantage of the capabilities in this powerful tool, which it can be an involved process. We also asked you about your use of, or lack thereof, of personas in your organization. And what you told us is that while some of you rely on them or have revisited them lately, it's pretty evenly split between those that aren't using them and those that have no idea what a persona is. Very basically, your buyer persona is a semi-fictional representation of your ideal customer. And I will talk through what's involved in creating those in a bit. Over the next short while, I'm going to focus on the Australian Cancer Research Foundation, or the ACRF. They're a lovely and talented group that we at RMS get to work alongside. When we were introduced to the ACRF, they had been using Marketo for several years. And the group there was very comfortable with the potential of the system and its functionality, but they also felt that it could be doing more for their engagement and their stewardship and fundraising. But they just didn't really know where to start. So what we did was we put together a strategy. The ACRF is fortunate. They have a unique understanding of their supporters. They also have a heap of powerful and inspiring content and supporter stories. What we wanted to do was take a step back and define their supporter personas, so putting those people into buckets, if you will. And in that process, we also evaluated the content they had available and considered appropriate timing for sending that. We wanted to then build this into Marketo. That was the plan. But in doing all of this, the original goal we had in mind was to engage with their recipients from their perspective, so their supporters' timing and their supporters' interests. How we went about building their personas. First, with the goal to pair up relevant content and personalized content, we decided to break them down into different demographics, so looking at age and location, considering if we're speaking to individuals or groups. We also looked at behaviors, their interests, their motivations, which eventually led us to identifying supporters for the ACRF who can be grouped into those who give financially, those who give their time, and those who are touched by the ACRF's cause. The next piece here was thinking through the supporters' decision-making process, and for every step, mapping appropriate content. How we did this was laying out the process they would go through, and for every step, we considered the context, the type of contact, and the type of content that we should be sending at that time. This was especially helpful in pairing the right message to this group at the right time. And it also helped us to identify missing areas or missing data, which led opportunities for us to create some new content as well. So with multiple personas defined, they're not actually called P1, P2, P3, but with them defined and with our content in order, the next bit here was to feed the Marketo engine. And we did this by designing dedicated programs to help marry this all together. The example that I will dive into specifically was designed to engage with a group of regular donors. We needed to design a journey for this group. So in doing so, we first thought through the actions and the milestones that these guys could run through, and how we would then trigger timely communications to them. We did know that this program in particular needed to be adaptable, so it could not just be a strict sequence of weight sets that every member would run through. Instead, it needed to be intelligent enough to know how to proceed based on how they were engaging with previous comms or not engaging with them at all. We also needed to be able to consider the type or the method for communicating with these guys. So here's some examples of the communications that this program did send. So it did start with an initial operational email, but it grew into multiple touches. And it's important to note that it wasn't just email. There are direct mail components as well as phone calls. So I will now jump into their Marketo to show this in practice. So here I am in the ACRF Marketo instance, and this is the program dedicated to this group. You can see that there are, and I should mention, this is not actually an engagement program type. However, it's still very much running with the same intent and goals as a Marketo engagement program type would. There are multiple assets involved, as well as multiple outbound campaigns running. Some are triggers, and some are recurring batch campaigns, but they're both responsible for delivering these messages based on members' activity or inactivity. I'll also mention that this Marketo program is synced to a Salesforce campaign, and that many of the smarts here are also triggering interesting moments and milestones that relate to these records, and that is being shared with people outside of Marketo. So for example, they're Salesforce users who may have a schedule to contact or follow up with a donor. They're reminded of things like birthdays or anniversaries, which are interesting moments that Marketo is triggering and linking to these records in Salesforce. I'll quickly scroll through here just to show the different assets that we have. So we have triggers running. We also have a collection of recurring batch campaigns. Some are currently running and some are not yet active. We also have some that run just as a one-off. So the next, I'm just going to hop back into PowerPoint here. So that was just one example that we put to practice in Marketo for the ACRF of an ongoing and automated program. There are others that are driven by other program types, for example, events. And there's also some upcoming efforts in the work as well. But for your own personas and your own journey, I have included here some shortened links to third-party templates that you might find useful in getting yourself going with this process. But whatever you do, definitely start with a goal in mind and then build with that. And the smarter you can make your program, the better, regardless of the channel that your people are interacting with you. And then for those that have registered their interest, RMS has its own roadmap to Marketo. It's our map to success and our trick to making your Marketo hum. So if you're interested, we're happy to share that.